controversial subjects with the facts can be tense, but we are a science here to make things make sense.
Fruit time.
We're not talking about gay lords.
Fruity
today.
boys talking about fruit. The premise today is, we've always been told that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, that fruit is a really great, wholesome part of everyone's daily diet. But have we been wronged? Has science led us in the wrong direction? Is there evidence to suggest that the sugar content in fruit might not be so good for you and that maybe you should monitor?
There's fructose, there's glucose.
Is it bad? And should you debate how much fruit you're actually taking in? Is it as bad as having a fuzzy peach, the real one, versus the candy one?
Or the real one, aka my ass.
Oh, yeah. Which of those three? That's actually what we'll be ranking today.
Okay, so Greg's ass, the candy, or the fruit. Which one is the best? Obviously, my ass is the healthiest.
Stick around and we'll give you the answer to that question at the end.
But also, this is a TikTok thing. If you're on TikTok, or I'm assuming Instagram Reels, or even, what's the YouTube one? YouTube
Shorts. But I've seen full videos about this.
On YouTube?
Yeah, doctors, not doctors, but maybe they're doctors. People talking about the glycemic index and why you want to minimize sugar spikes in your blood and how fruit can impact that versus other foods and a lot of concentration around.
That's fair. There is sugar in fruit, but also people are yelling at you on literally people are yelling on TikTok because I started searching it and now it's in my algorithm. They're literally do you eat blueberries? You might not know the hidden death. It's great. They just health on and TikTok is wild.
It's a bit scary, yeah.
And I will say we are going to come at this from a science perspective, a funny perspective, a side note perspective, but obviously nutrition is very every person's version of nutrition is going to be different depending on who they are. You can talk to your doctor about it, whether you have an eating disorder, whether you there's so many complex issues around food and nutrition that I think what we're going to talk about today is scientific studies
about generally whether fruit is healthy or what if the perspective from a science perspective has shifted.
Yes, yeah. But obviously don't
there's lots of course if you don't want to eat fruit, it's not you get to choose your own diet. It's less about that and more about let's just talk about why some people are taking it out and if that's legitimate.
Yeah.
I think in general it's been tied to this movement of lowering carbs. I think because sugar is a carb. And some people think that all carbs are bad, or some people just want to minimize their carbs, or some people are again worried about glucose spikes.
And also this trend of glucose monitoring technology. That's what I'm seeing it a lot about. It's okay, so there is a contemporary nutrition science trend that is being talked about that is very valid, which is that when you spike your glucose levels in your body, it puts stress on your mitochondria. It is quote unquote not optimal health. So people are going so far as to strap literal insulin glucose monitoring things on their arms, which I see at the gym and I see a lot. And I'm this to me, I'm this is crazy. And I'm just well, no, it's not crazy, but it's these are people without diabetes. They're doing it because they just want to know what is spiking their sugar levels. And there is valid science that I read this week about how intense spikes in glucose levels in your body can lead to fatigue, can lead
energy
to
crashes.
And that might be cool to know about. But when you read the studies, they're talking about pasta, they're talking about chocolate cake, literally. White rice sometimes.
Typically processed foods.
Yes.
Because I think what's important to acknowledge up front and where this has come from is that sugar and processed foods, large amounts of consuming sugar, is associated with health issues.
Yeah.
So that is true. People, that's why there's been so much effort around minimizing soda, why diet soda became so popular. It's we know that when you consume a lot of sugar, it's not good for you. And so I think the jump then was fruit has a lot of sugar in it as well.
Okay, yeah.
So that's kind of where I think it started and why it has a legitimate base, or it's a legitimate question to ask.
Yeah.
And to be curious.
But now we're maybe gonna slay all day and LOL at anyone who has ever told you to not eat fruit on TikTok, because it is my instincts were this is insane. The person who's yelling at me does have twitchy eyes and is a scary man. And I'm okay, the science is pretty.
So we're not going to bury the lead.
Yeah,
we're fruit is good.
How do you bury the lead?
Well, I was just going to save it a little longer. But no, okay. We're going to just come out. We're going to come out as fruity
as people who
lovers.
think fruit is healthy. Like, it is crazy.
I
Like,
mean, okay, I don't think it's crazy because I think it's certainly worth like exploring questions in nutrition and
Yes.
like, but I think what it gets misconstrued because like there's obviously like legitimate scientists who are like, we just want to study this, we want to know, we're going to put people on like heavy fruit diets or we're going to put
Yeah.
them on like different varieties. That doesn't, and they might get results that show something's good or bad. But I think what sometimes like the general public, including myself and you, fail to realize is that these are sometimes at like this peak performance level, right? So when
Yeah.
you're talking about, it reminds me of like exercise. Like a lot of exercise videos you see on TikTok are like, are you doing your bicep curl like this? You actually need to change the angle by 2 degrees and then you'll get the optimal. And it's kind of like, that's not untrue, but if
the
you've
other way
never
wasn't
picked
that-
up if you've
yeah.
never picked up a weight before and you do a bicep curl,
Yeah.
you're gonna stimulate your bicep.
Yeah.
Yes, it might not be optimal, but like when we get into these things of like such nuanced nutrition decisions, I think you're really only fighting for like a percentage of improvement or disadvantage.
Yeah, okay.
And it's important to remember like this can easily
Yeah,
lead
the
to
people who
eating
are
disorders.
yelling at you about eating fruit are like so goddamn in the weeds about nutrition that they've like lost the plot.
Yeah, and they may not be wrong. I mean, some of them are straight up misinformation
Some
and
of them,
wrong.
a lot of them are straight up wrong if you just
Yeah.
put like fruit dangerous
Yeah.
on TikTok. It's crazy.
But like that's what I mean. Like it's not crazy because there is legitimate science going into trying to figure out like maybe one fruit is actually better than the other.
Yeah.
You know, or like
okay, well, in general, fruit has lots of water and lots of fiber, and it involves like chewing slowly, and like that is a big part of it. Is that
it's probably the biggest part of the difference between a processed sugar food and
yes,
and
exactly. Then like a chocolate cake, for example, is like when you're eating fruit, you're consuming all these. Well, not even to mention the vitamins and minerals, but it's like which are slay all day. But it's like you are consuming so much water and you're consuming so much fiber, and the fiber aspect of it is in these studies where that people are like eat fruit because fiber is so important to literally slowing down the metabolism of glucose in your GI tract. It's important to essentially stunting all of the quote unquote issues that people are talking about with this intense amounts of glucose spikes that happen. The fiber, it literally like can coat your intestines and GI tract to have the process slow down so that you're not reaching the same types of sugar spikes. And because fruit is so high in fiber, you can tell just when you take a little crunch of it, that is to me what I saw as people being like, it's really hard to.
it's not, that's where it's not the same as processed
Yes.
food. So like, yes, fruit will has like a higher glycemic or like you're going to see a sugar spike compared to other foods, but it's like nowhere near the same. Like the fiber is what is helping that sugar actually be processed differently on the one hand. And on the second hand, most of the sugar in fruit, I think, is fructose, which a lot of processed food is sucrose and glucose. And
Yeah.
those are actually processed differently and have different like...
There still can be sucrose and glucose.
Yeah, I'm
in
not saying
fruit.
there isn't,
Yes, yeah,
but
yeah.
it's like the not genetic makeup, but like the chemical makeup of these foods and sugars changes how your body digests it. So not only is the water and fiber impacting how that food's digested, the majority is fructose, which we don't have as strong of correlations
Yeah.
when it comes to negative health outcomes as we do for sucrose.
And like when they were
glucose.
doing studies about the amount of fructose in fruit, even if you ate a lot of it, they're like, it's not reaching harmful levels. And they were able to acknowledge like, okay, we know that eating high amounts of glucose, sucrose, and fructose quickly causes issues. So like literally doctors are like, we are surprised at how when we study people eating a lot of fruit, like they are fine and in fact healthier because they're kind of like, there is so much sugar in here. But when we actually study like lifestyle and even not even like the biochemical pathways, almost from a biochemical standpoint, you're like, oh, okay, it's going to spike the glucose. It's going to be happy. But then they're like
theoretically.
yeah, but then they're just like, it's not causing.
Yeah. The amount of studies I was able to find and cite, and hopefully we'll put them in the links here, is like so many studies are just showing that people who eat more fruit and vegetable, like the hardest part is a lot of these studies get intertwined. So
With
they're
fruits
studying
and
fruit
vegetables.
and
Yeah,
vegetable.
yeah,
And so like there's probably micro differences, but I did find a couple like studies that were only changing the variable of fruit. People who ate more fruit were healthier. They like lost more weight,
lived longer.
They have like better general health outcomes. Their cardiovascular system is improved. Like I need to like scroll down.
It's truly like everything that sounds good.
Yeah, like just so many. Type 2 diabetes is like a lower risk of that. Even several cancers and chronic health conditions. Like exactly what you said. We don't understand the mechanisms. Like a lot of scientists and researchers in this space go, okay, we actually don't know why, but we just know this is the association.
But we know there's going to be vitamin C, potassium, and folate in that fruit.
Sure.
Like, hello.
Yeah.
The minerals and the vitamins.
And the fact that it's like smothered in fiber for the most part.
I love it. It sounds like you're like whipped cream topping, but it's just like smothered. Yeah. So for example, one golden delicious apple, which crunch, crunch tastes like candy. You know what I mean? Sometimes you eat an apple and you're like, well, this can't. Literally like why they're getting into your brains. You're like, this can't be good for me. Like this is absolutely delicious. Contains 2 grams of fiber, 22 grams of sugar, 13 of which of those are fructose. So whereas if you had like a 16-ounce can of soda, which contains 0 grams of fiber, 52 grams of sugar, 30 of which are fructose. So it's like, it's just, you know, not that like ever you're eating an apple and having like a pop and thinking they're the same, but they could be quenching a sugar craving.
Part of your brain might be stimulated in the same way, even subconsciously. That fulfills
and
that
it just like makes
desire.
you realize like there is so much more in the apple to slow down that glucose spike and to also essentially make you feel like you ate something sweet, which you did. There still is a lot of fructose in there.
Yeah, my sort of like not favorite study, but of the ones I found that specifically looked at fruit. And to be fair, it was on like a pretty small group, like maybe it was 18 people or something. But they made them eat a lot of extra fruit. So they were eating around 200 grams of fruit a day, which is around 8 cans of cola a day, like the equivalent of what that would be from sugar from Coca-Cola or some
Someone's
kind of
having a fruit salad for lunch, dinner.
What they found
breakfast.
was there was, so obviously if you were doing that much cola, we would know exactly what the outcome would be. So many studies would show like a lot of different health outcomes that would not be positive. They found no adverse impacts for body weight, blood pressure, insulin, and lipid levels after 3 to 6 months. There was only one side effect, and that was
that.
And part of the study, they gave them like more vegetables as well, and on top of all the fruit, it said they recorded the largest bowel movements apparently ever documented in dietary
Oh my God, they took the biggest shit in all of time.
Ever recorded in dietary intervention.
Oh my God, their rectum holes are like their asses loose.
So like obviously the amount of fiber was like insane that they were like having.
I mean, I know I'm
dumps.
gay, and so my ass being stimulated is like great for me. It's slay all day. It's 100. But like when you take a solid good shit, it's like that is the best feeling. I bet that was the best.
Yeah,
like they're saying it's a side effect.
big.
I bet those people are like, oh yeah, XS is too big.
They didn't say that. I'm just saying like there might be a point at which like the pure size of it is like.
I like my favorite saying for taking a shit is baking a loaf.
I hate that.
And I feel like it's a good one for those people. All those contestants in this fruit study baked loaves. Let me tell you that.
For sure. So I thought that was just interesting to know
I just
because
realized what I said.
similar. Yeah, you're gross. And that's why I moved on immediately.
Yeah.
Same thing has been documented. Like I mentioned weight loss, but it's really well documented that people who consume more fruit, even though we don't entirely understand why, they are more likely to lose weight.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is the not knowing why. Like this is another. Okay, yeah, this is just us going ham about the fact that I'm so annoyed by these TikToks because I'm getting them all the time now, and it's like they're really manipulative, and I'm like, who are they working for?
It spooks you, because
but it's like, why are they like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the intention?
To be honest,
to be controversial.
That, and I'm sure they've come across a stat that stimulated their minds and thought, oh my God, this is so shocking and crazy. Like I'm gonna like some.
Don't you think it's like
some could be devious?
I'm like, it's because the word is fruit and they're homophobic. That's not true, but sometimes I'm like, fruit is effeminate, and they're like the people I'm seeing are these like scary men in grocery stores.
Yeah, it's never like a flamboyant like.
No, and they're being
person.
like, don't eat fruit, and I'm like, I think it's because you're too scared that if you eat fruit, you're gonna like eat a man's ass. Like they're like. So like they're so scared. They're like, you only can eat like beef and pigs and things that have been slaughtered. Like it's so. I mean, that's not true. But sometimes I'm like, how did we get here? Why are we making a video where we're like, guess what? Fruit's healthy.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
I think it's just a part of the time we're in where anyone can basically say anything, and something that is controversial will get more attention.
And okay, I keep not acknowledging that like there reasons there's actually so many studies on this recently is that doctors are like, wait a second, we're obsessed with glucose spikes being bad. We're obsessed with the impact it has on your mitochondria and aging. We do actually think fruit should be
like theoretically,
yes,
like
yeah,
what?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why more and more research, and they're like, okay, but we keep finding like people are healthier when they eat
Yeah.
more, despite what we expect.
So
what's
that
going on?
is fair.
But I need to know, why are queer people called fruity? Like, where did that come from?
I mean, fruits are pink, fruits are blue, fruits are all the colors of the rainbow. Fruits
it's the
are
rainbow.
Fruits are a part of flowers, which are also like.
But
it's
why
like,
is that gay?
Because the most beautiful things in the world are like gay.
It's so weird.
Fruity.
Fruity.
I would love to know the etymology of
yeah.
like why we're called fruity.
Fruity. It's really weird.
Well,
I honestly can't.
fairies.
Is it just because like to be manly is to eat meat, and so what's the
Sometimes
opposite?
I'm like,
but it's
we
like
can't be this basic as humans. We can't. Like it can't be that. Like
But then
that's so.
why wouldn't it be
embarrassing.
called like veggie? You're so veggie, right? Like,
Yeah, there is
why
something more
fruity?
masculine about a vegetable. it is
'Cause it's like,
derived from the
oh.
expression "nutty as a fruitcake," which was first recorded in 1935.
Fruitcake.
Which is very very
Nutty.
World War II is about to
So
happen.
nutty was the gay
A nut can
back
be-
then.
A nut can be either a seed or a fruit. By the 1930s, both fruit and fruitcake terms are seen as not only negative, but also to mean male homosexual, although probably not universally. Fruity, fruit, or fruitcake. Okay, bring back fruitcake. I am
Yeah, but yeah, fruitcake.
officially calling all of our gay friends fruitcakes. That is so funny. So it's a sexual slang term, 1930s. Many pop culture references, gay nightlife like to reclaim the word and call each other fruit packers. I'm like, okay. Yeah, 1935.
Okay. Wow. All since back then. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, well,
But
we
it
can
is
move on.
like-
But I was just like, where did this term even come from? Because it doesn't resonate necessarily. Well, something
Yeah.
about it does. You know, when you have like Kiki versus Lulu or whatever that phrase is, where like
Yeah.
one's, you guess the sharp one is Kiki and the other one's whatever.
Yeah.
Fruity, for some reason, maybe just because I've heard it all my life, does though resonate a little more with like gay than anything else.
Yeah, they're not really explaining like why exactly it happened, but just that it like the time it
It
started
just
to be
evolved
said.
around then. Okay.
I mean, and they say it's oral history and it traveled across the Atlantic. That's insane.
I forget where we left off. I have a few other stats I wouldn't mind sharing about fruit.
Yeah, go.
So, one review of studies, like a meta-analysis, found that each daily portion of fruit consumed reduced the risk of heart disease by 7%.
Whoa.
So that's like a kind of interesting correlation. High fruit and vegetable intake is associated with a 46% lower risk of diabetes in females. However, in this particular study, there was no difference in males. Interesting. Let's see. Oh, this to me was one of the most important stats because
Okay.
everyone's like worried now. Am I consuming too much fruit? 2019 study of Americans found that only 12% are getting the adequate amount of fruit in the first place. So it's like, you probably don't need to worry about fruit consumption. Like, sure, if you are a fruit addict and you're eating all day, every day, like maybe it's worth considering your fruit consumption. But considering like the vast majority, 88% of people in America are not hitting the recommended amount, stop worrying about
I know.
it.
I'm like, imagine, like, I'm like, how many of us are like, oh God, I'm forcing another pineapple down. Like, it just feels like I'm not going, like, I eat a lot of fruit because I am a fruitcake. And I don't ever think it's too much because it's just like, it's never that much.
Yeah, you don't like your body eventually is just like, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
I'll have
Okay,
a
so
banana
that's
and I'm not suddenly like, I want another banana.
Okay, so that's part of another reason why they're like, okay, so obviously fruit is freaking healthy. And they said it decreases your total calorie intake, which makes a lot of sense. Like eating an apple by the end
It's
of it,
filling.
you are like, holy shit. They provide prolonged...
Especially compared to the equivalent amount of sugar in another like processed food.
Yeah.
So
a
you're gonna
pop?
have
Are you kidding me?
But even like a croissant, like there's lots of sugar
Yeah.
sources people aren't thinking about.
oh yeah, I
baked
always
goods.
forget about like carbs.
Tons of
and
food
white
like
rice.
bread,
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
that like the equivalent. I mean, maybe bread has fiber. Like there are some foods that have fiber.
No,
that
but it
are
won't have as much if it's processed
as-
bread.
Yeah, so it's just worth
Unless
thinking
you're like
at the
eating like
equivalent.
barley off of the like stalk. Okay, so they provide prolonged satiety. There's inherent micronutrients within them. They have non-essential phytochemicals, and they modulate your gut ecology to also decrease like glucose spikes, as we said.
So
and
this is when you eat a fruit.
Yeah, this is just like a study being like, these are all the reasons we can think about why fruit is so healthy after our study. And then the last thing is undiscovered mechanisms, because they're just like, when we study people who eat a lot of fruit, like they're living longer and they're healthier. So like, I'm sorry, but like we just don't know exactly why.
Yeah.
But like we can only assume.
It's kind of like the only result as like an average person you need to know, though.
The only thing they did say was that there were less benefits and in fact a lot more glucose spikes from dried and canned fruit.
Oh yeah, I was
because
going
you're
to
taking out the water, you're maybe adding some sugar.
That was something I wanted to bring up, was both fruit juice and dried fruit.
Oh yeah, fruit juice. There was a lot of studies on kids and how it was like really unhealthy for kids.
Yeah, because
like,
if you think about it,
sounds intense,
shouldn't say really unhealthy. Like at least in a lot of ways, it's still containing nutrients. Like it's not as devoid of nutrients as just like pure sugar.
But it's not doing the same thing as like your kid eating an apple, which I assume is like so hard to make.
And fruit juices strip the fruit of fiber.
Yes,
like
exactly.
They pulverize it, and a lot of times they're keeping like the apple peel, like the skin part's getting like stripped away, which contains a lot of nutrients in the first place.
Yeah, I always remember my mom would make an apple pie so delicious. She'd leave the skin on because she'd be like, you're getting some extra nutrients.
Yeah.
And I'd be
what I
like,
will say is I found, so in general, they would say like fruit juice isn't like the devil. Like you can still have fruit juice, like fresh squeezed fruit juice, but it's worth knowing that it's much easier to consume way more than you think, because like a lot more sugar and you're stripping a lot of fiber. But it said orange juice in particular does not appear to affect blood sugar, possibly because of the soluble fiber and pectin that makes it into the glass, as well as the phytochemical hesperidin. Cool. Now, it also doesn't require any chewing. So, like, there's a lot of reasons why fruit juice, sure, you can have it, but just know, like, it's not the same as eating a fruit. And then dried fruit, like you said, contains less water. And for the same reason, it's easier to eat a lot in bulk. Like, you could eat a lot more dried fruits than you would the equivalent of, you would just feel so much more full.
It's like, ew, apricot. It's like, when I found out an apricot could not be dried and was like a real actual plump, it was so good. And then whenever for whatever reason, like, everyone eats apricots, which is nature's fuzzy peach. Yeah. Like they're like, they have the same
That must be what
vibe.
it's inspired by.
That's probably why I really don't like them, because I'm like, it looks like a fuzzy peach, but I'm putting it in my mouth and it tastes like nothing. Mm-hmm. Or it tastes like, ew, I don't like dried apricots, but I didn't even know you can have a real one. And then I did, and I was like, this is delicious, like a plum.
Yeah. I mean, fruit is so good. It always shocks me. Like,
and
I think the more you stay away from like a lot of sugar, like the sweeter those things become in the first place. Like,
that was like the video we did about aspartame and stuff.
Yeah,
why they think aspartame can actually be bad is it changes the receptors in your tongue to crave more sugar. Mm-hmm. So it's like that is what's happening, right?
Yeah, if your reference point for sweet is something like the humans made that's like so sweet, of course fruit's not going to be that.
Then you're going to eat a blueberry and be like, this is so bland.
Yeah.
But really it's so... Also depends on the ripeness. We have to talk about ripeness.
Do we?
Well, because sometimes a fruit cannot be ripe and it's like... ouch.
Disgusting.
Yeah, or like a green banana. It's like,
yeah, truly green bananas are banana I think is actually my favorite fruit at the perfect ripeness. I think.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, good question. Favorite fruit? Banana?
Like I recently was... Okay, sorry,
I don't mean to like...
My favorite fruit that I can consume every day. Not that you can't consume other fruits, but bananas are so accessible and really easy. So like I don't have to prepare it. Like I like pineapple, but you have to like really either buy it pre-prepared or like cut open a pineapple.
Yeah, cutting a pineapple takes 48 hours and is like an actual like engineering feat.
Yeah.
So you're right that like eating a banana is, I mean, hello monkeys. It's like it's designed as and packaged well
for like a creature with hands.
It's like a cheese string, but it's real.
I would say my actual favorite sort of fruit that's I go, oh my god, this can't be good, is mango. Like in that it's truly the most delicious,
it's so
sweet,
good,
shocking fruit that exists. That I'm like, this is candy.
But it has to be good for you because it's just like it represents the tropics.
Something I came across just that came to my mind was there are studies that looked at, okay, what if you ate a bunch of candy, but then just loaded up on like, what's that Metamucil, like, or fiber? Like, what if you just added fiber supplements to your diet?
Oh.
And studies have found it's not the equivalent. Because you would think,
Yeah.
like, and the
That's
same with
a
fruit.
hilarious
Well, some of the
attempt.
recommendation for fruit is like, just eat it with some, like, have some nuts with it. Then you're
Yeah.
like bringing proteins and fats in your body, and at the same time, it'll be processed a little differently. So, I mean, it's a reasonable question to ask.
that
Like,
is
can
a
I have
thing.
candy and then like the sugar could be like outweighed by fiber, and that may be true to a degree, but it's not like
Well,
like eating a whole
that's the
fruit.
whole like glucose monitoring blah, which is like such a thing, and I shouldn't say it like that because it is real and doctors are getting on it, is that they're like never eat naked carbs. Okay, another side note, we're on side note territory where I'm
never
like,
eat shredded wheat.
all of this shit is giving me like eating disorder vibes. Like sometimes I listen to these health podcasts that are all scientists, and I'm like, can we all chill the fuck out?
Yeah.
Because it's like you're really just like, now you've attached something to your arm to be so psycho about food that
Yeah.
you're not going to go out and just enjoy food with your friends, which is like the whole point. Anyways, it's so devoid of joy, and they get away with being like, we're science. And it's like, you're being crazy. Anyways, they say never eat naked carbs. So for example, they're like talking about your kids. Like if your kid gets home from school and wants a cookie, you give them yogurt with it so that it's going into your gut with fat and with protein. And it's like, essentially all trying to mitigate the glucose
Like
spike.
the spike, yeah.
But to me, it's giving a psycho over. Like I'm just like that. I don't know. It's giving granola parent. Like here's your cookie and here's your granola.
I think that's totally
your
fine.
yogurt.
I think it's fine.
Yeah,
to think
no,
about
it is
that,
fine.
but
It
you're
is fine.
right that it can go down a wormhole of like overthinking every food choice.
Yeah,
right? Like you can have a cookie and not worry.
Yeah.
Like you can eat processed sugar. Like that's fine.
But I guess if you are listening to the Huberman Lab and you're wanting to find these quick things for yourself, maybe it's a little more intense when I'm picturing a kid and be like, here's your joyful cookie and here's like a scoop of yogurt. Like I can see how those hacks, if you're like an adult, could be really like, if you're interested in health, like fun and easy to do and make you want to keep reading the book or listening to the podcast. It's like, it is a simple hack.
Yeah,
No
it doesn't
naked
have
carbs.
to. You don't have to like obsess over it, and it could. I think though for kids too, like it's an easy negotiation tool because obviously like sugar and yummy salty foods are really so appealing to kids that it's an easier way to be like, well, you can have your cookie as long as you're also eating your other food.
Yeah.
It's the same reason people are like, you have to finish your dinner before you have dessert. Oh,
Yeah.
you're full, then you don't get dessert.
Yeah.
You know?
And also these glucose spike, I read a lot about like studies about them, were saying that you eat your vegetables first because they have fiber, coats your gut, then you eat your protein, and then you eat your carbs.
See, now I think that is more intense.
The order.
Yeah,
'Cause they're
I'm not
it's a
saying you
simple
shouldn't do
hack,
it, and I'm
but
not saying I haven't thought about it, but like
you have, like, I didn't even know about that.
I've heard about it. I've never actually like stopped and been like, I'm going to eat in this order. But to me, like this is just to me. I don't mean this to project on other people. If I start thinking about that, then I'm like, I'm spiraling into somewhat disordered eating.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because
that's fair.
maybe it's just because it's new. There are other things that maybe I do that other people will be like, that could be disordered eating. But I think for some reason, the order I eat my food in would be such a change in
Well,
how
that
I
is
eat my
like
food.
disorder. Order.
The
is
order, yeah.
literally
But I just
the
mean,
order.
I don't think it means you have disordered eating. I just think for me, for some reason, that change, it would just upend how I eat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They pitch it all as like simple health hacks, but then when you really think about actually putting them into action, it is you're giving crazy at the dinner. Oh, can we get these first? Like, imagine being out for dinner. You'd be like,
yeah, we need to eat our beans first. Like, can those come
yeah,
first?
you'd just be like,
in
relax.
general, like when you're eating within like a 15 to 20 minute window.
Yeah, but people we're in the era of people trying to
Optimize.
So I can see how these hacks like catch on and they feel good to do because
Yeah, it gives you a sense of control.
And
And
it's
there is
based in
nothing wrong
science.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that can be exciting. Again, it goes back to like maybe you're increasing your rate at 5%. And
Yes,
you know, like
yeah.
really
And it's about feeling good.
If it's worth your 5% of your mental energy, if it's more than that,
Yeah.
then maybe you shouldn't do it.
and it's all just everyone's afraid of dying and they're trying to like mitigate it. Like,
Yeah,
we all go.
honestly.
Okay, so comparing gay man to fruit because they're soft, tender, and effeminate. It's like, are they effeminate?
Have you felt a pineapple?
I know they're saying that's what they're saying here, and
I
they're
guess,
saying
yeah.
that like women, all
Yeah,
like-
women are often compared to like fruit, like body wise.
Yeah, they're just saying it's like another term that was for women.
It's
And then
like
they
soft,
also
okay.
said that like most derogatory early terms for gay people were also similar to making fun of prostitutes. For example, queen, punk, gay, faggot, fairy, and fruit. I'm like, those, like, did we ever call
Prostitutes?
sex workers queens? I mean, maybe.
I don't know. Wasn't alive.
Or punks.
Maybe.
Okay, wow. Straight guys really picked up punk. Like, they really took punk
Like, we want
back.
that one.
Yeah, it's like, excuse me. That's what they used to call us gays. Wait, favorite. What is your favorite fruit? Gun to
I
head.
told you 2.
You said 2.
Mango.
I want 1.
Mango, if it don't have to peel it, like, it's just too much work.
Oh, like given to you.
Every day I would have a banana. Yeah, I love bananas.
Okay.
And mango, though, is like, wow, this is a treat. Like, I don't think I could eat mango all the time every day, but a banana is like mild enough and I like it enough that it sounds so boring. Like, I never ever saw myself as a banana person until literally in the last year. I was like, love. But it's just so strange how a green banana is the most disgusting thing to me.
That's interesting. You're playing with fire with that one. Mine's blueberries.
Interesting.
Have you ever been
least favorite?
What?
No, like, sorry, what is your least
favorite?
favorite?
I thought you were saying blueberries were your least favorite.
They used to be one of my least favorite.
How?
Because
You're just trying to be different.
No, because I didn't like blueberry pie. And so I was
How do you not like blueberry pie?
It's definitely not the best one.
It is the best one. Also, the like August, like finding a blueberry shrub while camping and just going to town on the wild blueberries. Some of my best memories. I also love blackberries. I love that.
I actually think blackberry might be my least favorite.
Really?
But I don't. Oh, actually, raspberry. I don't like raspberries.
Yeah, raspberries I do love, but they're very like
kind of bitter.
They're like that's it. Like they don't have much to them. They're gay. They're soft and tender. Like they're like when
colorful.
Someone's like, "Oh, that gay guy is a fruit." I'm like, "Yeah, you mean a raspberry. You don't mean a pineapple."
So what is your
my least favorite fruit? I honestly think it might be like an apple.
Apples are pretty boring.
They're really
Sometimes
boring.
every now and then there's just so many.
They can go so wrong. Every time I touch them, I'm like genetically modified to all hell. Like I feel like they have the most like
when they're like this
Monsanto,
big.
like Monsanto has like capital.
You want to know why though? When we were in Colombia, I had not realized this. We live in
we live in
apple capital
orchard.
of the world. Like when we were in Colombia, the variety of apples was just really simple. It was like 3
and they
different
looked
kinds.
so bad, and they were like, we had to ship these from Ontario.
Yeah, when you go to the grocery store where we live, and maybe lots of like North American,
there's thousands.
It's just like entire rows of different
I remember
apples.
you bought an apple in Colombia, and I was like, don't ever do that again.
I was like,
it
also tasted like it was weeks old.
It's like you're walking to this gorgeous Colombia. Like Colombia has so many fruits.
Yeah, then
veggies.
you
it's
like
like
get papayas.
It's like a
and just,
farm,
like, gorgeous.
And then there'd be like one part of the grocery store that was like decrepit with like disgusting like lighting and like literally like cobwebs, and there would be like 3 apples and they'd be like $14. And I remember once you bought one, I was like, no, like we're in the wrong place.
And yet they'd have like 10 varieties of avocados.
And so many different types of avocados. Also, one of my favorites, but everyone's so basic, I would be like, you're so is papaya. I love papaya, but it's so polarizing to people I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to sound like I was just trying to be alt. But because some people are like, it tastes like feet, and sometimes I'm like, it does taste like feet, but like it's so good and the texture is amazing. And maybe it's because it's like represents like the fact that I'm traveling, but it feels like I'm not getting it much. So then it's like, this is good for me because it's like rare.
It's a really good one. People say papaya is really, really healthy.
What were the other? Oh, I loved like those fruits in Colombia where you cut them open. There's like those like sour seeds.
Like passion fruit kind of
vibe?
vibe?
Passion fruit vibe, but it was called something else. And I would just put that on my cereal.
I love passion fruit.
So good.
Yeah.
I love passion fruit. Oh, I like dragon fruit, but that's so hard to get in Canada.
Dragon fruit gives me the craziest IBS, which I've learned does happen to a lot of people.
Gives him baking.
And when I eat the red ones, it's like scary.
Yeah, the red dragon fruits, when you cut them open, you're like, we're in Game of Thrones. This is like not reality. And I love them.
And it comes out the other end that way for me.
Okay, wow. No.
And pure diarrhea. And I'm like,
wow. I'm trained to eat a dragon fruit, but those are like, if you have a dragon fruit like in your fruit bowl, it's like, okay, you're exotic. Because it's like, it truly looks like modern art. I remember once being like,
beautiful.
should I just put this on our wall? But then I'm like, oh, I guess it'll like rot. But it looks fake.
Yeah, it's really, really pretty.
And yeah, I kind of think like, I feel like there were so many other fruits in Colombia.
Yeah, this is the thing. Our context of fruit is probably so limited to where we live. Like, there are so many fruits that we don't eat that could be our favorite fruits. And we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, I'm like even thinking about like India.
And worse fruits. Isn't there that one fruit that like smells like rotting flesh or something?
Oh yeah, like rotten.
Like
fruit.
people like always do videos where they show them trying it and they want to vomit and stuff. Like, I forget what it's called, but anyway.
Ew, we have such lame fruit. I'm like, my favorite's blueberries. Like that's so boring.
Also weird when you're like the things that are considered fruit are a lot more than you think. Anything with
Like a
seeds.
tomato.
Yeah, and a cucumber, right?
Yeah.
Anything with
and-
seeds? Yeah.
Wait. We're
What?
canceled.
Wait.
Canceled. Because I don't know what a fruit is and a
is.
vegetable is now, and I'm going cross-eyed and I'm passing
It's
out. I'm like, I have a
seeds.
science. It's not just seeds.
A fruiting body.
Oh, I see. Like a carrot doesn't have a seed. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
it's a root vegetable.
I know.
But I mean, there might be more to the definition.
No, I know. I thought it was like seeds internally. Like there are people screaming who are like, why would I ever listen to these fruits?
Okay, my last thing to say was like, when should you avoid fruit? There's kind of a couple cases.
Interesting.
So
When
what-
you're wanting to be a man.
yeah, when you don't want to be gay anymore, you should stop eating fruit.
Yeah.
So some people can be allergic and have food intolerances. That one's like
Fair. If you're allergic to
obvious.
fruit, fair.
And there are specific diets like low carb and keto diets. Like the goal with them is to change how your body processes sugars and fats into energy. So like the whole goal is to go into ketosis where your body burns fat instead of using glucose for energy. And for that to cook in, you need to minimize your sugar to like sometimes as low as 20 grams per day. And a single piece of fruit could have that much. I'm
Gotcha.
not saying whether this is good or bad, but when that's the
Yeah.
goal, of course, like you choose your own diet, and it's why some people avoid fruit and vegetables, which to me is shocking. But you know, everyone has their own goals and their own health habits
exactly.
and like their own personal journey.
And if like you're not eating fruit for health, like I might make fun of you. Sorry, at the beach. Like if you tell me it, I'm just gonna like laugh, and you're gonna be like, that guy's annoying. And I'm like, well, whatever. Oh yeah, fruit, a sweet and fleshy. Hello. Talking about us gay men. Sweet and fleshy product of a tree or other plant that contains seed and can be eaten as a food. So you were right. It's just containing seed. So then cucumber, tomato.
but I think vegetable is like a more broad category.
Yeah.
Look at vegetable.
But it is true. Like it's like the broccoli doesn't have seed.
yeah, neither does a potato.
True.
Right? Like think of things that like often grow under the ground.
I just Googled
peanuts.
broccoli.
Or is a peanut a fruit? Or nuts fruits?
Yeah, so why is that a legume? Okay, wow. On our science podcast, Googling what is a
You
vegetable.
know when you I do this all the time when I'm researching for videos.
Okay, vegetable is the edible product of a herbaceous plant.
Okay.
That is, a plant with a soft stem, as distinguished from the edible nuts and fruits produced by plants with woody stems, such as shrubs and trees.
Okay.
Wow, that's so weird that they're saying vegetable has to be herbaceous.
Versus what?
Like a shrub and stemmed and trees, which gives you nuts and gives you fruit.
Oh.
That's really weird to me. And I'm like, yeah, if you knew that, you are smart. Like, it's like, it is okay to be walking on this earth and
There
not
are
knowing what a
people who are
vegetable
going,
is.
no, if you didn't know that, you are stupid.
No, I don't know. I think that's just things they don't teach you in school.
And that you forget that you're just like so around all the time and doesn't have that significant, like we are not foodies. And so it doesn't play that significant role
Yeah.
in our minds to think of the distinct.
Although we
differences
did do a full on like show about a farm where we lived on a farm and truly talked all the time about farming and what the vegetables were.
Oh, life is funny like that.
Yeah, especially when you're a fruit. Okay. Yeah, so fruit in the end.
Yeah.
Who would have known? It's good.
In
And
conclusion-
if men are yelling at you on TikTok, just grain of salt, babe.
Yeah. eat
And
your
we're
food.
gonna do a video on only eating meat because that's the next. That's the pinnacle of this like trend.
Yeah.
Just like not eating vegetables
Only
or fruit
meat.
or only eating meat. I
Well, we'll see.
can't
Maybe it's great. Maybe we
even
don't even know.
fathom where they're finding the studies. Like, okay,
It must be so expensive. Okay. We going?
yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Also post.
Peace.